Okay, I believe we are going. We got Nathan and Avery to help me out because, man, I have no idea what we're doing, Puka. We haven't even talked about him at all before we fired this up. Let me hear y'all's thought process. I want to go through talking about it from a redraft perspective, a dynasty perspective. And I mean, I was talking about this in a live stream last night, but I literally don't know if this has ever happened before. Like, I can't think of ever seeing a day 3 rookie wide receiver come into the NFL, immediately dominate, be number 1 in targets overall, and have a player like Cooper Kupp waiting the wings to come back in a couple weeks. So usually when I look at historical data and try to go through and find some comps, I mean, I can find 1 or 2 players here. Let me know. Have we ever seen anything like this before?
No, literally not. We've tried. we pulled up the RotoViz screener and we were looking at guys like Anquan Bolden, Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper being guys who had 27, 22, and 20 receptions respectively their first couple games as rookies, but Puka's at 35. Like, it's not even close. And when you look at the list of guys that he's ahead of, I mean, 75% of them are Hall of Famers. It's unreal.
Yeah. So what are y'all thinking going forward? Let's first, I guess, cover in the short term for the next 2 weeks before Cup comes back. Like, how are y'all ranking this guy?
Oh gosh,
Wide receiver 1.
I was gonna say you have to rank him as a wide receiver 1. I think until Cup comes back. I mean, I think even when Cup comes back, when you're looking at like a redraft perspective this season, I actually think his value maintains pretty well. I mean, with Cooper Kupp dealing with a hamstring, that's not an injury that old guys usually do super well with, anyways. And I mean, I don't think the Rams will just stop scheming Puka up. I would imagine they're not going to do that. But again, situationally, like, we've never seen anything like this where you have this 5th round wide receiver who comes in and just completely dominates. You have one of the best wide receivers in the league that's injured. But again, like, it's hard for me to see a scenario where Cooper Kupp comes back and they just stop getting Puka the ball. I mean, not to mention, like, I think part of it is scheme. But when you're looking at his success rate versus zone and man through the first couple weeks, I mean, his success rate versus man is 84.5%, and zone is at 70%, press at 87.5%. So it's not like the dude is just getting schemed open and that's what it is. When you watch the film and he's finding soft spots in the zone. I mean, he reads defenses very well. He seems like a very smart player. He honestly reminds me some of Cooper Kupp, which is kind of funny. Yeah. But I don't think this is just a thing where they're just getting him the ball to fill the Cooper Kupp role. I think they really think that he's a good talent. And I think that he's also showcasing his abilities, and they're going to keep giving him the ball even after Kupp comes back. So I think between, the hesitancy with Kupp and with what Puka has shown, I don't think he's just going to drop off the face of the earth, even when Kupp does come back.
Okay, let's go through a couple hypotheticals. Yeah. The next 2 weeks, who are you starting, Olave or Puka?
Puka. Easy.
Oh my gosh. I guess I'm too low on the guy. Let's go Diggs, Puka.
Puka.
You have lost your goddamn mind.
I mean, I can't turn down 20 targets.
He's getting 20 targets a game. Like, against the 49ers.
We barely saw that with Cooper Kupp. Like, 20 targets in a game for him was crazy.
Yeah, no, I actually did the look into it, and Cooper Kupp has had 1 game in his NFL career with 20 or more targets.
And Puka's done it.
I don't know how you can blame anybody, like, for starting him. We got, Terry McLaurin or Puka last week after week 1, and people were like, yeah, sorry, you're insane. I'm not starting Puka over Terry McLaurin. Yeah. And again, like, until Cooper Kupp comes back, I don't see why this would change, like, in terms of the amount of targets he's getting. It just, to me, like, it would be super weird for him to get this many targets in the first 2 games, and then the next 2 games still being the wide receiver 1, hypothetically, there just not get any. Like, I know it sounds stupid. If you would have showed me this conversation before the season, I would have literally thought we were all smoking crack, like, legitimately.
Okay.
But
so you're telling me next 2 weeks you have him in the Stephon Diggs range. We're correct there?
Yes.
Okay. Kupp comes back. Who's the wide receiver 1 on this team?
I think at the beginning it'll be Puka because he's healthy. Kupp, they may slowly phase Kupp in because we still don't even know the extent of his hamstring injury. Like, there's a ton of questions regarding that. I mean, they could have him on a snapshot or on a limited work load for the first couple of weeks. Who really knows? Plus, he could re-aggravate it and not feel super comfortable. I mean, he's the only one that knows his hamstring. So I think as the season progresses, though, if you were to just play hypotheticals again, let's say that Cup comes back and then he ends up being full swing. He doesn't get injured. He plays for the rest of the season. Absolutely, you're taking Cooper Cup over Puka Nacua. Like, he's obviously going to be the wide receiver one there. But I don't think from a workload perspective, this will be like super duper concerning for Puka, because when you look at, I think this ultimately is just a knock on Tutu Atwell from a volume perspective.
Yes.
Because when you look at the past 5 seasons with the wide receivers in the Rams offense under Sean McVay, I mean, in 2018, you have Woods and Cooks, both with 1,200 yards respectively. In 2019, Cup and Woods, 1,100 yards respectively. In 2020, both of them 900 yards. And then Cup, he was the only one left there in that offense in 2021, which is why I ended up with 1,900 yards. There wasn't any other weapon left at that point, because Odell came at the end of the season and he wasn't really a factor until the playoffs.
That is a good point overall about them getting typical usage for a wide receiver too in the offense, where maybe the 2021 season for Cup was a little bit of an outlier in that. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to get a gauge, because to be honest with you, I think you're too high on him, if we're gonna be honest.
In fantasy,
to put him next to Diggs when we've seen a 2-week sample, I think is nuts. I have him wide receiver 14 in my rankings this week in the Olave, Waddle, Devonta Smith, Ridley tier. I could 100% see the argument to move him up higher than all those guys. To move him up to 10, you sold me, I'll do it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't really blame you if you put him below those guys. Like,
I don't.
I mean, again, it's Puka Nacua. Like, we're talking about. This is one of the wildest things I've ever seen. Like, and I have no clue what to do.
Let's go to
not only
Dynasty,
redraft,
because I want to
like
think
Dynasty.
Like
I just am sitting on my hands. Like, I don't know what to do there either. Is Cooper Kupp going to be there long term? I just don't know.
Hypothetical 2024 first 12-team Superflex, mid first or Puka.
This is what we were debating about before we even got on here. A 2024 mid first or Puka.
I don't know, man.
In a vacuum, I would absolutely take the 24 first, but I am terrified of what market value is going to say about Puka Nacua in 3 or 4 weeks. If he keeps putting up this production, I think there's a chance he becomes more valuable. I have a couple shares of Puka. I took a shot on him in the 4th round in rookie drafts. People are reaching out to me for him right now, and I'm telling those people that he's worth 2 firsts, because I've seen him go for that much.
It's ridiculous.
And
yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people in like just my casual redraft streams. I have a lot of people walk into those redraft streams and just playing like 10-team leagues, 1 flex, 2 wide receivers, like super casual redraft players. And see a lot of them trading like Puka for AJ Brown straight up, like in that range for 2023 seasons. But I think if it's like a 12-team super flex league, I would sell Puka for the first, just for the flexibility to lock in the value. If it was like a 1 quarterback format, I'd be fine going through and holding. I just think the range of outcomes is so interesting, because, well, I agree. If Puka goes out there and continues to be like a top 10 wide receiver, even when Kupp gets back, which is in the range of outcomes, it's a possibility. His value could go up from here. But would y'all be like that surprised if by the time we get to the offseason, we're looking back and laughing at this video and going, oh my God, remember when we thought Puka was going to be a top 10 wide receiver rest of season?
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And to your point, like, I kind of agree with you. I think if I'm getting anything higher, I think I told Nathan anything higher than like the 109 or 110. If I knew that 24 first was going to be higher than that, I think I'm comfortable taking the first. I mean, not only is the value super insulated, but like you said, the range of outcomes here is bananas. And I'm pretty comfortable in a Superflex league with next year's class, at least at the top, to where I think I'm going to get somebody that will be as good as Puka Nacua or as valuable as Puka Nacua, because I mean, it is really hard for me to see him continuing this the entire season, because if he does, I mean, he's drafted in the 2nd round of Dynasty Superflex. If he did this all season, like,
yes, that would be as high as he would go, because there still would be Cooper Kupp being the concern there, because he's still under contract. He doesn't have an out until 2025.
I'm good selling him for a 24 first. I think like that I'm comfortable with that.
Have y'all checked where he is on Keep Trade Cut?
No,
I have not checked.
I know he was high.
Let me see. I don't know how much they're updating through the course of the actual season, but let me pull this up to see if we can get a sense of what the actual value is right now. Keep Trade Cut is just, they can do so many things better. Last time I checked on this, they have Jefferson at the 102 here. Who the hell is trading
He's now equivalent to Jonathan Taylor. Puka Nacua is.
What pick is that?
It's a mid 24 first.
No, I'm sorry. Like what startup?
Startup pick.
Oh,
I'm
checking here.
Oh, I'm looking. He's at 49.
Yep.
So he's directly. The Christian Watson question's interesting. Christian Watson or Puka Dynasty?
Oh my gosh.
We haven't seen. You've got one guy you have a 2-game sample size of, and a guy hasn't played any game this season, and really only dominated for 4 or 5 games last year. So
yeah, I guess they are both small sample size guys.
I would lean Christian Watson. I don't know. I'm a little bit more conservative. Like
who has that? Who has an out of this world touchdown rate that's not sustainable? Puka hasn't even scored a touchdown yet.
I don't know why we're talking about sustainability when we're talking about Puka. It's been 2 games and he's done something I've never seen.
Yeah,
before.
you're right.
What about Drake London?
No. It is with Drake London. I would have a really hard time not taking Drake London if someone offered me Drake London for Puka Nacua, just for the market value win that I would get right off the bat from that, based off of my investment in Puka.
I'd take London.
And that's my thought process in Dynasty, at least, if you can sell him for a random 2024 first, because London's not worth more than a random 2024 first. You know what I mean? At this point?
Yeah. And my only worry with, like Avery said, if I'm selling Puka to a contender, I'm terrified that that's going to turn into the 110, which will turn into Zach Charbonnet, which ends up being a 9th round startup pick next year. And Puka will be more valuable than that. And my issue is I haven't seen any rebuilds give me any offers for Puka. I've seen them be a lot more cautious with him because they know that he's a major question mark, and he may even lose value in the offseason because people will become more aware of that and kind of come down to earth.
Yeah.
It's more likely than not that Kupp ends up still on the Rams next offseason.
And Kupp is old though, and he's got hamstring issues.
You're right.
It is really unprecedented. Like, we have not seen this before, and I don't blame you for being confused. I feel like I switch my opinion on him every single day. So
yeah,
Mason,
I'm almost to the
shares
point now where people ask me about him, I just don't even want to answer, because I feel like it felt like
You're gonna be
whatever
wrong
I
either way.
say can be held against me. I can look like I already got put on freezing cold takes for a Puka take 2 weeks ago. I feel like from here on out, anything that I say can be held against me, and I almost just have to be quiet about them.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer. People are dropping trade questions in the Discord, and I'm like, ask me again in 4 weeks, maybe. Like, I don't know.
It really feels like a lose-lose. You're like, whatever take you have on Puka and whatever take you have on Kupp, you're going to end up being wrong on something with both of them. It's because I like Kupp in fantasy. I want him in fantasy. But what does that mean for Puka?
Yeah, that is crazy. But do you have anything else for me, or anything about the situation you want to talk about, or just anything, period?
I don't think so, man. We covered it. I mean, I think from a redraft perspective, you kind of split it into the next 2 games and then the rest of the season. And I think we're really comfortable within the next couple games. Not so sure about the rest of the season. And then in Dynasty, I'm comfortable selling him for a single 24 first. Nathan wants at least 2 to sell him. I don't know. Like, I only have 1 share of him. You have multiple.
I have 3.
Do you have any shares, Mason?
No.
Oh.
Yeah,
I drafted 400. I drafted like 450 best ball teams, and I haven't double checked, but if I have him out of those like 450 best ball teams, I have maybe in 1 or 2, maybe. Yeah. If I have him at all.
That's going to be tough to see. Next offseason, you're going to be looking at the win rates of players on RotoViz, and you're going to be like, well, Puka Nacua may not even have that high of one because who drafted him?
I know. I don't even know how often he was drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Underdog put out that he was drafted in maybe like it was a small amount. It was a small amount. He was definitely like an 18th round pick. It was like him, Justin Ross, blah, blah, blah. I was thinking shots like Josh Downs in that range. So love that I have Josh Downs and no Puka. Love to see it.
Right. Here's what I will say. We play for the end of the season in fantasy football. And with that being said, assuming Cooper Kupp is healthy by the end of the season, Cooper Kupp is the guy to have there. And you're crazy if you think otherwise. And I will stand by that. Like, I'm not buying Puka in fantasy. I'm not paying his price. I'm still buying Cooper Kupp. And I think that says all you need to say for Cooper Kupp in fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know, man.